Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of This Week in Tyranny. It's really just This Week in Insanity, really. It just sounds more with twit instead of This Week in Tyranny and Insanity. TWII. I got nothing on that. I squared? No, bad jokes. Anyways, let's get right to it. Now, Governor Whitmere, you know, the prestigious governor up in Michigan, had this.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you. And I also know someone who's been really following the rules and making sure that he stays safe and the elves stay safe. And so my special guest is Santa Claus.
Hello, boys and girls. How are you?
Does anyone have a question for Santa Claus?
Santa, do you have to wear a mask?
When I'm in my workshop with all my elves, we all are masked up.
Just straight up
social
propaganda for
distancing.
kids.
Okay.
Hi, Seth. Hi, Seth. Should we leave out cookies and milk also some carrots for the reindeer this year?
Yes, please do. Set up carrots and cookies if you can.
We'll also say hand sanitizer if you're done with the cookies and milk.
No
That
way
was
a
a
kid
good
thinks that.
Excuse
suggestion.
me, Santa.
Yes.
Coronavirus in the North Pole?
Everyone has been tested.
You know, kids are
negative.
almost zero
We're still getting
problems with it.
tested. I think we're so far up.
Yet they got
north
kids
that
muzzled
it
up.
might not be getting to us, but we're not going to take any chances. We're all going to mask up. We're all going to wash our hands, and we're all going to stay 6 feet apart.
Thank you.
By the way, Sesame Street's doing that with the Great Reset. They had a whole thing with Grover and Sesame Street. They're teaching kids how to wash their hands. Like no one ever washed their hands before until this year, apparently. And then obviously the holy sanitizer and wearing masks and not being around any others and playing on Zoom and.
Hi, how can we keep people safe for Christmas?
What I would suggest to do is
Notice
what
the
the
safe.
governor is telling all the people of the great state of Michigan to do. Social distance, wash your hands, and make sure you wear your mask when you're outside your home.
Kids.
And another
Zero
way to
risk.
stay safe during the holiday is to stay home, but call your grandparents and
She's
your
not gonna do that.
cousins and your family, and it's the safest way to tell the people you love how much
Safe.
you care about
Safe.
them.
New four-letter
This
word.
year it has
Safe.
to look a little bit different so we can stay safe.
The heresy of safety, as
And I
Father Canon
appreciate
said.
all of you doing your part. Santa, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Let's hear your best ho ho ho.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry
ho, ho.
Christmas!
Bye, everybody.
Just try. You talk about getting your blood pressure up watching that one. I mean, there's no way that was scripted for the kids. No kid's gonna say, "Hey, what about the hand sanitizer?" Just frustrating. Anyway, well, there was this. I should have put this out afterwards. Let me see if I can find. I got all discombobulated, I guess. There was supposed to be another one for that. Maybe I have that. Oh, there it is right there. So I'll skip that. I got a double. Okay. So, what is SDG Target 4.7? It says all leaders all learners of all ages around the world must be equipped with the knowledge, skills, and values necessary to build a better world. Mission 4.7, which launched in the global practice this bold vision. And it has the Holy Father here, obviously. I actually watched a couple. There's Jeffrey Sachs. It's a priest Marcello. I can't think his last name. Anyways, if you really want to watch that, it's on YouTube. And it's all this ideas of it's entitled Vatican Youth Symposium. And you got this guy up here with I'm sorry, it was playing this is where I last left off. This guy up here, where's it at? He's in charge of this whole darn thing. I don't know who he is. If you sits back, you can see his little emblem. It's the same thing the WEF guys wear. But anyways, I watched, like I said, about 30 minutes of this already. And it's already strictly Fourth Industrial Revolution stuff, which the last chapter of this is basically fourth industrial revolution things. Even though they're going into more female, there's also, you know, how females need to be working more. He says that in this too, or basically in a nutshell, says how female leadership is the places where everything's recovering well. But this is basically WEF in a nutshell. Now, if you hit on the whatever it is, SDSN and the videos, look what you'll see. Zero carbon, zero carbon, zero carbon, zero carbon, zero carbon. This is literally an offshoot of the WEF, Sustainable Development. Sorry, my wife's texting me. So the Sustainable Development stuff, and this, I mean, like I said, straight off from the WEF forums. Again, it goes with, they bring up Laudato Si and Tutti Frutti. I can't think of the real name. We call it Tutti Frutti all the time. So it's literally coming straight out from that stuff. Laudato Si for environmentalism, and Laudato Si for all this unity nonsense, socialist ideas. Again, straight up of what Schwab and these guys are talking about. The National Catholic Register talked about this too. Launches education collaboration with UN to promote sustainability. There's the keyword, drink, and gender equality. They actually have is he on here? On the one part on day 2, about 17-minute mark, they have the Reuters LGBTQRSTUV guy speaking about basically gay stuff, and it's, you listen going, man, how's this part of the Vatican? It's just, again, there's a Sam Loney, that's his name right there, Sam. He's in charge of this whole thing. So they go through all these guys again, 3 hours long, the first one and the second one. So again, if it's going to be hard to watch all these and digest all this. I mean, look at this, hour and a half, 3.5 hours, 3 hours 45 minutes, 2 hours 42 minutes. Hey, Jeffrey Sachs on the European Green Deal. Let's see what he has to say.
How crucial is the European Green Deal right now? It is, in my view, the best we have in the world of a transformation agenda that really looks at transformation in depth, in scope, in holism, and in time dimension. It's really well done. As I like to say, it's totally bureaucratic, but
let's fast forward through it. It's 7 minutes long. See if I can find
global diplomatic effect. Definitely Europe brought the East Asian countries into the recent announcements of China net climate neutrality by 2060. Japan, under new Prime Minister Suga, announcing very quickly upon his new prime ministership, climate neutrality by 2050. Korea, the same. So we really have a lot of partners. And once we pry Trump's fingers from his Oval Office desk and carry that man out of his office, we're going to have a good president in the United States, and there will be a U.S. Green Deal in effect to join this. So I think we're going to have a lot of opportunity diplomatically for the European Green Deal to be applied.
Sorry, I had to get the car.
I hope we can find ways to extend this to North Africa and the Eastern Mediterranean, because it's a framework with COVID, with Trump, with just extraordinarily difficult year. 2021 should be much better. Our government.
The 7 minutes, you can go ahead through that. Yeah, sorry about that. The kid shoved his Hot Wheels in one of the chairs, so I had to take it out. Anyways, that was the first time I watched that. Rambly hit that thing. Look at Sachs talking about getting Trump's off the White House. You got a good president coming in because he's pushing your stuff. And even though not saying that Trump is perfect, he did get us out of the Paris Accord, which is a good thing, which these guys want us back in. So yeah, if you want to read a little bit more about this, again, everything will be in the show notes. Let's see. The Vatican said the symposium is focused in particular on the need to promote a new kind of education, one that will overcome the current globalization of indifference and the culture of waste. Okay. There's a Laudato Si. He brings that quality education. There was quite a few things that talks about tech, because obviously it's all tech jobs coming in. This is interesting. Each symposium, including the current one, is jointly organized by both the Vatican and Youth Branch Sustainable Development Solutions Network, an organization also directed by Jeffrey Sachs and partially funded by the Pro-Contraception, Pro-Gender Theory, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In 2016, it gave $1 million to the organization. It just get hit on every side. All right, let's get back to this side of the border with Oregon. Oregon governor extends COVID-19 state emergency through March 21st. Governor Kay Brown extended a declaration of state emergency due to the Rona through the beginning of March 2021. 1 year to flatten the curve. 15 days to flatten the curve to 365 days to flatten the curve. 365 days to destroy your economy. They're going with the whole case-demic idea. We lose too many organs to the disease, including over 100 reported deaths in the last 2 days. I guess 100 people died and they all have the Rona. Because there was a stat the other day, if you saw, that one doc put up of every year how many people died. And we haven't even made last year's death total yet. So less people have died this year, but the Rona is apparently killing off the entire world. So everything's gone. If you die in a car crash, you die of the Rona. It's all about the Rona. Now, this is one of my things that I kept saying. If clerics would lead, we'd have everybody behind us. So Cardinal Burke had a sermon the other day. He posted it on the Reset. Tyler Durden, this is not his real name, obviously, from Zero Hedge, put a link out with it in there. Top-ranking Catholic Cardinal says COVID-19 used to advance godless and murderous agenda, ushering Great Reset. Man, if we get guys to do this, we got people will come into, not only come into the church, but back you up. He brings out the tweet that Burke warned the danger of certain forces who are using the cover of the Rona to promote fear, attack freedom, and the family. To reset is the new normal. And how many clerics are backing up this? How many clerics are backing up the fear and promoting the fear that are attacking people for just speaking out? There's bishops out there going after people that say anything outside the narrative. Burke also slammed U.S. reliance on China. China is saying, quote, to attain economic goals, we as a nation have permitted ourselves to become dependent on the Chinese Communist Party and ideology totally opposed to the Christian foundations upon which families in our nation remain safe and prosper. There is a mysterious Wuhan virus. About those nature of prevention, and mass media daily gives us conflicting information. What is clear, however, that it has been used by certain forces inimical to families and the freedom of nations to advance their evil agenda. That's for darn sure. And he brings up the so-called Great Reset, the new normal, which is dictated to us by their manipulation of citizens and nations through ignorance and fear. And they put the whole thing right here. The whole homily is right here. This is not a Catholic website, but if you're for truth and fighting this stuff, these guys will back you up. I mean, they got Vigano on here. If Vigano's done it too, these guys. This is not the first time I've seen this. I've mentioned this to you guys before. If we just get some clerics to grow some spines, bishops mainly. Because it's got to be the bishops doing it. If the priest says anything, the bishop's going to throw them to Our Lady of the garbage dump in where, Kazakhstan. No, it won't be Kazakhstan, but throw them in the middle of nowhere to shut them up. How many priests have been silenced already? This came out 4 days ago. The 14th day is the 18th. Cyber pandemic has begun. Check it out. It's Ice Age Farmer. Again, all this will be in the show notes. And it goes through about the last couple
scenario of a to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
This
So-
sets the stage for
So he brings up all these solar winds thing, FireEye. Yesterday there was, let's see, hack software, solar winds. He brings up, obviously we talked about cyber Polygon, yeah. Who's the players in this? He brought up a group of names in here too. These are guys that pretty much got compromised the other day. And also yesterday, I'll just pull it up on Drudge since we got this. The power of, if I can spell, Drudge report. Can't spell. Hack of the century, nuke weapons agency breached, NSA alarm, act of war. So that's all happened in the last 24 hours with that. Breaking. Hackers accessed networks of U.S. Energy Department, National Nuclear Security Administration. These maintain U.S. nuclear weapons stockpile. I jokingly said Skynet went online because the whole thing, the nukes ended up shooting at each other, mutual assured destruction. Who knows? Keep an eye out on that. I brought it up weeks ago. I think people are now thinking I'm not nuts. By the way, Trump hasn't said anything on this. Someone brought that to my attention, how silent he is on this. So the Moderna pokey overwhelming approved distribution to start immediately. He gave money in that back in January. He tweeted that out. Also, Moderna ditches 400,000 pokey doses, but still set to meet goal. And this is the, Operation Warp Speed. We have no idea. It's experimental. I don't think they've had a poke ever in their lives, but you're supposed to take it. You're the experimental lab rats. This is something that was interesting. The mRNA, which no one knows what this really does in a sense. It's never been in humans. And Moderna never made one before until now. The pokey contains a luciferin dissolved with 6.6 milliliters of distilled phosphate buffer solution. Now, does this make us think Lucifer? It is a light. It's a light thing. Lucifer, light. This isn't. Now, they are just. It almost seems like they're trolling us with that. I mean, you could make 6.7. So the whole idea of this is basically here. Darn it, I had it up and where I can't remember where I put it. They go through the whole thing on here. Basically, it just illuminates under the imaging. So part of the idea of this was the tracking apps. So it was apparently you could see it. The app could see the poke itself, the viral solution. I guess I'm not a scientist. I'm trying to make it sound somewhat coherent, and I'm pretty much failing on that. But if you want to read more of it here. But a lot of people are losing it over this right here. And this isn't a Catholic group, but a lot of people call it Mark of the Beast, etc. So, wow, Mark of the Beast, there's right there. It doesn't take long for somebody to post that. This was an interesting part. If you want to read that to yourselves, someone put that together. Polly did a video on how we're being basically terrorized in this, and the Arctic chart of coercion versus the Rona. Deprive individual of social support of his ability to resist, make an individual dependent upon the captor. Individual develops an intense concern with self. On the Rona side, social distancing, this isolation from loved ones, massive job loss, solitary confinement, semi-isolation, quarantines, concentration, and containment camps. All this has been happening. So if you want to read that for yourself, again, it'll be in the show notes section. Read it, print it, type it up, copy it, post it around. Yeah, there's it back and forth. This is from the Biderman report of 56 compared to today. Just in, the WHO urges masks for Christmas family gatherings in Europe. So yeah, you want to go? I haven't worn one. We're not wearing one. It's like that here too. This is a big time video. I'll play a little bit of it. I'll play half if you want to watch the whole thing.
And something horrible happened. And those are brilliant, robust, and durable antibody response. But then something.
He's talking about the Rona pokes from before.
Horrible happened. And those ferrets were a challenge when they were exposed to the wild virus. They got horribly sick. They got inflammation throughout their bodies, and they died. And the scientists remembered that something very similar had happened in the 1960s, where they had developed a vaccine for RSV, which is very similar to coronavirus. It's an upper respiratory infection ailment. They had skipped the animals and given them directly to 35 children. And the children, again, had developed a very robust antibody response. But when those children were exposed to the wild virus, they got very, very sick, much sicker than unvaccinated children. And 2 of those kids had died.
So check that out. There's more to it. And I don't want to play the whole thing. You can go in the show notes and check it out. Last America Vagabond has it. I'll include his plate on the show notes. He's done some tremendous work on this. And he also made a correlation between that and this. All of a sudden, a new variant of the Rona has assisted rapid spread across the UK, says Matt Hancock, and the WHO notified. So basically, we're talking about when those ferrets got the poke, and then a new brand kind of mutated, I guess, it took those ferrets out. Think of that what you want. Big Brother in disguise, the rise of new technological world order. This is all coming from the Fourth Industrial Revolution, if you've been reading their stuff. And he gets into his Welcome to the Matrix. If you want to read this, this is a pretty fascinating read. And talks about how everything's connected. Cars are going to be connected. Everything, like your thoughts become action. Here's one: thoughts become action. Using the brain as an interface, for example, users will be able to see map routes on VR glasses by simply thinking of a destination. Remember, they talked about how you could think a text. Let's see, sounds will become an extension of visual reality. Users could mimic anyone's voice realistic enough to fool their family members. Real food would become secondary to imagined taste. Remember the Matrix? A sensory device for your mouth could digitally enhance anything you eat. So that any food tastes like your favorite treat. Smells become a projection. Touch, smartphones or screens, texture, digital. It's nuts. We're destroying humanity. That's what it is. Prime Minister Boris Johnson in the United Kingdom doesn't rule out a third nationwide lockdown amid rising rates of the Rona. Build back better, Johnson. This is great. I thought this was awesome. Over 150 Minnesota bars and restaurants set to defy the Rona restrictions. Good. Make it 200. Everybody. The Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia. Get some groups together and get together and defy these restrictions. You get your strength in numbers. These guys can't shut you all down. Get with others. Find the like-minded people. Fight back. Michael Flynn calls Trump to suspend the Constitution and declare martial law to rerun election. We were joking about this on the rundown, which if you want to see the rundown, it's on the Restoring the Faith Media website or YouTube channel. Go check it out. I'll have it linked underneath in the show notes too. This is when the conservatives start going, yeah, follow the Constitution until we don't want it anymore, just like the other guys do. Yell about the Constitution, this, and then they don't follow it at all. This is dangerous. Declare martial, and also TIP basically called about this, saying if Trump doesn't leave, they'll have to have the military come in and remove him. Flynn, that's dangerous. And there's a lot of Catholics and traditionalists, too, that are for this. It's unreal. Do you guys want blood? I mean, what do you want here? That's terrible precedent. You want to talk about a dictator down the road. Yeah, keep that up. Iconic Cheers bar in Boston that closed permanently due to shutdowns. So, yep. I think I saw a site saying 60% of businesses are dead now, are gone. My brother said he went into this long ago before he went to seminary, and he was visiting. He first welcomed first customers in 1969. Closed. There's a lot of his places going down left and right.
Tomorrow, Novant Health is expected.
So this is in my area.
To get some doses of the COVID-19 vaccine to give its hospital workers a shot in the arm to roll up your sleeve.
Point is to say it's going to be well into the spring before I believe that vaccine is going to be widely available to folks.
She's the North Carolina version of Fauci. So you get the pokey, and it'll help you for 2 months because they keep saying, then you got to do it again. Mandy Cohen. By the way, this same group, when they said Novant, my mother-in-law works there, and they have her wearing a mask on top of a mask. So she's got a surgical mask on, like that lady has, then an N95 over it. So that doesn't work. So you have to have multiple. She can barely breathe, which I guess if you can't breathe, you can't get sick. If you fall over dead. And South Carolina bills would set the foundation to nullify federal mask or vaccine mandates. Hey, I just saw this beforehand. 2 bills introduced to the South Carolina House would ban the enforcement of any federal mask mandate and prohibit the state from taking any federal funding connected to a mask or poke mandate. Passage of these bills would set the stage to nullify any federal mask or poke mandates in practice and effect. Take that, Texas. See, South Carolina, I'm in North Carolina, but South Carolina, they always lead the way in action. Texas is a lot of talk. South Carolina actually does something. Good on them. I'll have to read more on this, but again, it will be in the show notes. Sorry, I'm running out so we can get the mass here at the a couple hours, but let the kid play. The pokey passports announced by Israel in world's first. That's just the lady, the first person to get in England. So we were talking about passports. That's just a conspiracy theory. Israel will be the first country to issue a green passport to residents who have received the poke. The passport lifts some restrictions, including mandatory quarantine following exposure to an infected person, and offer access to cultural events and restaurants, including according to the Israel's Ministry of Health. So again, it won't be mandatory, but you'll have to get it. Nobody is mandatory anything like this, but it will be mandatory to live again. So, sorry if this feels rushed. Again, I had to get something out before I never would have gotten out today. And check out all the show notes again underneath. And God bless. Bye.